Alcançando a paz através da prosperidade econômica.
Vivemos em um mundo aparentemente dividido, seja por guerras em diferentes regiões do globo, ou por uma cisão de valores, de crenças fundamentais que geram uma grande polarização. As diferenças que poderiam ser motor para a criatividade, para a inventividade e para o avanço, muitas vezes se tornam um entrave para o desenvolvimento. Como superar as divergências? Como não apenas aceitar as diferenças, mas torná-las motor para a inovação? Diante desse cenário, como se falar em paz? A prosperidade econômica segue sendo uma força capaz de romper ciclos de conflito? Mais oportunidades econômicas significam mais estabilidade, prosperidade, mais estrutura, educação e mais diálogo. Elementos essenciais para se construir pontes ao invés de barreiras. É dentro dessa perspectiva que damos as boas-vindas a Fleur Hassan-Nahoum.
I am here for the first time ever in Brazil. And I don't remember what my expectations were before I came here. But everything I thought about Brazil, now that I've seen a little bit, my expectations have been completely superseded. Especially what I've witnessed in this incredible conference. Because what I see is a country full of vitality. And what I see is a country where the young people are leading to make positive change. They're leading, they're taking responsibility. And for me, a conference like this is incredible proof that you have a very optimistic future. And so it's my honor to be here today. So what I think connects Brazil and Israel is this very strong civil society that is leading the country. The whole movement of bottom up is it's crucial, especially for people like you who think like me that if you want good ideas to die, you take them to government. And if you want good ideas to thrive, they have to come from business or civil society. And this is how my trajectory in politics began. I'm a lawyer, like half the audience here, I think. But for many years, I worked in non-profit, and then I moved on to the private sector. In non-profit, I learned about the social gaps in the state of Israel. And then when I moved to the private sector, I learned about the strengths of our economy. And with that, I started teaching communication skills for a small accelerator in Jerusalem. It was the first accelerator in Jerusalem. And I got together with a group of young people, such as the wonderful people from the IEE who put together this amazing conference. And they had a vision. And the vision was that we should develop an innovation ecosystem in Jerusalem. Now, Israel is the startup nation. But somehow, the startup nation was very concentrated around Tel Aviv. And it forgot Jerusalem. And one of the reasons why it forgot Jerusalem is because there was this misconception that because Jerusalem was home of the two largest minorities in the country, we shouldn't really dedicate too much energy in developing the innovation ecosystem. So I got together with a group of young people who didn't believe that was the case, because Jerusalem is the most important academic ecosystem of the country. And where there's academia and where there's innovation, there can also be incredible growth in the economy. And so I got together with a group of people who believe the same thing, and we decided to create an innovation ecosystem. We said, if the government doesn't see how this is an advantage, we're going to show the government. Another one of my ethos is build it and then they come. And so we began to build it. We started with a fireside chat, happy hour, bringing mentors, bringing industry leaders. We created an accelerator, an incubator in every single university and college in the city. And in 10 years, we created a thriving innovation ecosystem that in Jerusalem doubled the tech jobs in the city. We went to the universities and we said, why is it that the students graduate and they run to Tel Aviv? They said there's no jobs. We went to industry and we said, why is it that you're employing people from Tel Aviv? They said, because there's nobody here. I said, well, there are people here, but then they go to Tel Aviv and then you employ them back. So how do we keep them in the city? And we managed in a small amount of time by connecting the dots, industry, academia, and fantastic leadership, young leadership. And so what happens beyond the city of Jerusalem? And as Daniela mentioned, in 2020, we had an incredible opportunity to change the region, which came about with the Abraham Accords. And I want to remind everybody that the Abraham Accords were really the leadership of the first Trump administration, who broke with conventional wisdom, the wisdom of the State Department of the time, that you cannot normalize relations with the Arab world if you don't solve the Palestinian issue. But the Palestinian issue wasn't being solved because the Palestinian leadership knew that that leverage was on their side. And so what President Trump did is actually quite brilliant. He said, we can have normalization and then the Palestinian leadership has to come around the table. So in 2020, I was very proud to co-found 2 organizations bringing people-to-people peace between Israel and the region. I'm the co-founder of the UAE Israel Business Council, and I'm also the co-founder of the Gulf Israel Women's Fórum. And in 2020, we lived an incredible honeymoon with the moderate Sunni Arab world. The Arab world who understood that Israel is a technological powerhouse, and if the region is to advance in the right direction, and they have very young population groups, they have a choice. Do they accept economic prosperity, or do they embrace radicalism that can bring the end to the region and bring no opportunity or prospects to their young people? And luckily, they accepted economic prosperity. So for the first few years, it was really an incredible situation. We saw unprecedented tourism, business thrive in an incredible way, people-to-people peace. Again, the governments made peace on the top. And we had an example of cold peace with Egypt and Jordan. What does it mean, cold peace? It means that the peace stayed very much on the top leadership level, on the military level, but it never trickled down to regular people or to the business world. You never saw businesses happening between Egypt and Israel, and we've had peace with Egypt for 40 years. With the UAE, it was different. With Bahrain, it was different. With Morocco, it was different. And the reason why it was different is because the leadership signed the peace agreements, but the business community actually made the real peace. 5 of the 10 top cybersecurity companies in the world are in Israel. When you look at AI, we have the highest talent concentration of AI of anywhere in the world. And this is how we have such a robust economy. Because necessity, ladies and gentlemen, is the mother of invention. And unfortunately, since the beginning of the existence of the State of Israel, when we had no neighbors to trade with, when we had no regional acceptance, we had to become food self-sufficient. We had to become water self-sufficient. We had to develop agri-tech before anybody even used the word agri-tech. And this is why the region actually wants to do business with Israel. What is looking ahead? And this is why, despite the difficulties, I remain optimistic. Because what's ahead is a game changer forever. And that is peace with Saudi Arabia. Normalization with Saudi Arabia, which is the leading Sunni country in the region. And what is that looking like? Well, with this current US administration, it's become a priority. Now, of course, we can be cynical and we can say that the reason that Saudi Arabia want peace with Israel, and it's also true, is that we have a common enemy, the Islamic Republic of Iran. The reason that Saudi Arabia want peace with Israel is because they want defense pact and guarantees from the United States. That's all true. But MBS, the rule of Saudi Arabia, also has something called the 2030 vision, which means he has made a strategic decision that he wants to move his young people into the innovation ecosystem. He wants to develop talent in his region. And if he wants to do that, the best people to do that with, helped by, is Israel, which is only a couple of hours away on a flight to Saudi Arabia. And he knows this. And so we are moving forward to that aim. We are moving forward with the Americans to something incredible called IMEC, which is the corridor of the Middle East, India, all the way to Israel, which will connect the Middle East with India and Europe. This is game-changing for a reason. This is trillions of dollars of incredible economic development. We have another quadrilateral agreement called I2U2, Israel, India, USA, UAE. Another incredible agreement that was signed by the politicians, but only the business community can move forward. And that is looking at the relative strengths of Saudi Arabia, of the Arab world, of India, and embrace India to accept us and not other more destructive partners in the region, like the Iranians, or like the most destructive parts of the Chinese or Russian regimes. This is what we're looking at. The region is going to split into two. The countries that want peace and prosperity, and the countries that want radicalism and destruction. And so the rest of the region will have to decide, what side do you want to be on? Do you want to give your young people opportunity, or do you want to keep them in a death cycle of death, destruction, anger, and hate? Everybody knows what side Israel is on. And we have peace with every single country that has wanted and accepted peace with us. Being here in Brazil makes me so optimistic that you also have a society that wants to take individual responsibility, that wants to move their community forward, that sees that a young country like this only has one way forward: freedom, peace, prosperity. When I see the young politicians that spoke here today and yesterday, it gives me such optimism that once we're finished with making peace with the region, that region has the best partner possible in Latin America, which is Brazil. And so I look forward to coming back many times. Like I said, this is my first time in Brazil, but it will not be my last time. And come back. And I invite you all to come to Israel and experience for yourself the energy that I find here in this room, the energy of vitality, of innovation, of future thinking, of fixing the world together